Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. Now I'm sitting here today in the beautiful resort of NAD Lembeh, which is based in Lembeh Island in North Sulawesi, Indonesia. I've been in the past 10 days doing some incredible diving, a load of fantastic muck dives. I've seen some crazy critters that I've never seen before, and I cannot rate the diving here highly enough. The trip itself has actually been a photographic workshop run by Tattersall through Unus Divers. Now those of you that know me well will know that I do not do underwater photos, I leave that to other people. I stick to underwater video. I like the moving images, I like putting the edit together, and I like doing something a little bit different. But when I saw the trip advertised, I inquired about it. There was no issue with me coming along, even though I wasn't doing photos, so came along, and I wanted to really capture my thoughts on the week and what I've seen around the workshops and the presentations and how people have sort of learned things through the week. Now, as I say, it's a proper workshop I've attended, and I'm really surprised and I was quite intrigued by other people's perceptions. There's a number of people on the trip that have been on workshops before. Some of those have been on workshops with Alex before, and others, this is their first workshop, just like me. And then there's also varying levels of experience and expertise with a camera, I guess you could say. We've got people that are shooting here with compacts, we've got people shooting here with 4/3, and there's a number of people that are shooting here with DSLRs. And the experience is quite vast. You know, there's people that have never taken underwater photos before, you know, have owned a camera, taken it on a couple of dives and have literally come on the trip. And there's those that have taken images and have won competitions and have had their material printed in the press. So yeah, the whole balance of the dynamic and what people would get out of it, seeing as there was quite a broad spectrum of talent, I guess you could say. Now, one of the things that really stands out for me is the amount of time and effort that Alex has clearly put into this workshop, not only here on site in NAD Lembeh, but also in the pre-planning before he came away. He's given a presentation every evening before dinner, whether that be around photo technique, lighting, dead space, composition, storytelling, hints and tips, do's and don'ts. And it's been quite interesting to see how the divers on that course have progressed through from day 1 through to day 10. I've certainly taken a number of things away from it, even though I've not been shooting photographs. I've been playing around with backlighting in my video work. I've been playing with the f-stop in my video modes just to try and change the mood of the moving image that I'm capturing. And also, every evening after dinner there's a photo critiquing session, which is completely voluntary. It's not in any way judgmental, and the idea of it is for people to submit their best photos of the day, and for them to explain the story, or what they like about it, what was their thought process when they took the photo, and then the group can kind of really discuss it, what they like and what they don't like and what they could have changed. And what's been good is that each evening Alex has set a category to think about the next day, whether that be third-party lighting, backlighting, bokeh, or a number of different aspects, so that the divers had something to concentrate on for the next day's diving. And I have to say, some of the photographs that they've taken have been absolutely stunning. I'm really impressed with some of the work that the guys have done here this week. Another thing that I found really interesting is just how open and helpful everyone's been to each other, not only in the critiquing session in the evening, but also during the day, on the dive boat, in between the dives, helping each other to take better photos, sharing bits of kit, giving hints and advice. I haven't encountered any of this, my photo's better than your photo, there's no bitchiness, there's no backstabbing. They've been an absolute great bunch of guys. I've really enjoyed all of their company. And also there was actually a talk one evening from two of the guys on the trip, two of the divers on the trip, Alison and Paul. They actually gave a talk one evening on Lightroom. It wasn't pre-planned, it wasn't in the agenda, but they used Lightroom. And there was a number of people that aren't really that au fait with Lightroom, so they gave a presentation on the basics. They're not in any way experts, and they made that quite clear at the start. They're not here telling anyone to suck eggs, so to speak. But it was really helpful. I think a lot of the guys that were in the presentation found that really quite enlightening, that people that are on holiday with them are giving their time to talk about something that they know about, which I thought was really nice. And finally, the other biggest draw for this trip has been the amount of free toys that have been offered for people to use. As many of you that know Alex will know his connections with Nauticam, runs Nauticam UK. So there's been a number of diopters, strobes, retrostrobes, filters, accessories that you can use to backdrop your macro photo. I couldn't believe how many things were on offer to use, actually, for anyone to use on any dive, to chop and change between them. He wasn't precious about anything, so there's certainly been a number of bits of equipment that people have been able to use that they have never used before and have never thought about using, and have used them to great effect to actually improve their photography, which I thought was actually a really nice touch. There was no airs and grace about it, so yeah, I think if you are looking for a photo workshop and you see one of these come along, it's certainly worth taking a look at. Now, I couldn't end the video with just me talking, so I've managed to pin down a few of the people that have been on the trip. I really wanted to capture their views, what drives them to come on the trips, what inspires them to take better photographs. So let's hear what they've got to say.
My main objective of the workshop was to improve my photography overall.
So my main objective from the workshop was to get some pictures, actually, add to the portfolio and have a great time and have a few drinks. And learn stuff off other people and Alex, basically.
My main objective was to get better pics than her. and to improve my macro, because we haven't done that for a while, have we?
No, we've been concentrating on wide angle for a bit, so we came here for the macro experience, I think.
My main objective for this workshop was that I'd never been to Lembeh, and a little gap came up in my calendar around November time, and suddenly Una's Divers sent an email saying, do you want to come to Lembeh? And it was Alex Tattersall, and I'd never been on a trip with him before, and I thought, you know what, it's the right time, it's the right price, I'm going to go.
I found them quite valuable. I learnt a lot. The most important thing, I think, is that I learnt that macro photography is photographing a small subject, even though it's far away. So with regards to lighting, you've got to think of lighting for macro rather than lighting for a wide angle.
As well, they're invaluable. You couldn't do the trip without them, really. You have to sit down in the evening, review pictures and discuss them with your friends and see how we're all getting on.
Yeah, and Alex has got some great insights into how you can improve your photographs. He shows examples of how to make them more interesting. So you learn from other people's great photos as well, and it's always helpful because you might know that you're on the right lines, but it's always helpful to
everybody knows a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so even if you learn one small thing, it's great because we've been coming. This is our 7th year, so we've seen a lot of the presentations a number of times, but still pick up stuff, don't we, occasionally?
I think the presentations are very valuable to see what everybody else has been working on. If you leave it all to the end, it's too late. You've got to see it right from the beginning and know what the possibilities are.
New things I didn't realise. You can make some very interesting tools that can help your photography being more creative. For example, the Tube of Joy, and other coking filters as well, which alter the light around the outside of a photo and the blur, and how to use those artistically. Also, learning about Lightroom, I had real difficulty putting 3 pictures together as one picture before. I used to try and do it in Photoshop, and I was unable to do it. But I've learned how to do that, but also I've learned that it can easily be done in Lightroom.
So from this workshop, my new technique, I think, will be using the retro snoot. So I haven't used a snoot before, and it was really helpful to have one to use because it was provided as one of the free toys that came along with us, and also just to see the difference between that and using a handheld pointy torch thing. So the retro snoot for me was the new lighting technique for me.
And inward lighting with the strobes,
Which
which is something that we've not done for a while because we've been relying on taking pictures without strobes, and we're trying to get back to basics a little, aren't we?
So you use more strobe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so light rather than just on the torch.
Yeah, and ambient light.
Yeah.
So I didn't come here with any preconceived ideas about new techniques or ideas, but after one of Alex's evenings, I did have a go at the narrow depth of field and did a whole day at it, and it's quite challenging, and actually it's a lot easier than you think, and I was really pleased with my results.
Yeah, my favourite photo. That's very difficult to say at the moment. It will probably change when I get home, but one of my earlier ones, which was a little filefish sniffing the underwater flowers. I just think it tells a story about creativity and how something simple can be made to look quite beautiful.
My favourite photo, I think it has to be two octopuses fighting over a shelf. So we had a brilliant encounter with some Pokemon octopus. They were posing gorgeously, and then an extra octopus came in and decided he wanted to move in on the house. The first octopus living in, so they had a bit of a fight, and I managed to get hold of her on a picture. So that's quite good.
And my favourite picture of the whole trip was actually her favourite picture that she took. But if I have to choose mine, it's the Panate with the different background rather than just a black and orange outline.
I haven't seen that. You're going to show it later?
Yeah, but that's natural though, isn't it?
I never normally do a night dive, but Alex said, you've got to do a night dive while you're here. So last night we did the recommended night dive. It started off really boring, and then all of a sudden there's a couple of baby squid. And it wasn't until I saw them on the screen today, I saw their iridescent colours. Fantastic. But then this morning, there was another image of there was a boring old crab. I was just about to take image of boring old crab, and then it did a sudden movement, and it made me jump. But that made me take one of those blurred photos, which I was so happy with. So it was by accident, but that's probably my best image to take away.
Primary objective of these workshops is to create a comfortable learning environment for everybody, because I know that each person who's coming on these trips is on holiday, and they're also coming in from different levels, and they have different requirements, and they are aiming for different things. So I try to create an environment where they can learn from their peers, learn from each other. There's no competitive element to it, and everybody has a good time. To get the workshop together, because I've been running these workshops now for 10 years, I've kind of understand a lot more the role of the resort and the planner. So I leave all the dialing up to the resorts, I don't get involved in that. The presentations that we do each evening, I kind of have a rolling series which I use and then update for each trip. And they're kind of changed as I'm watching people underwater doing various things. I stop in each presentation and start discussing a technique that I've noticed someone needs to work on, or something that I've noticed someone's had a problem with. And then we do the individual critiques or the critique session in the evening, where people can submit images and we can go through and discuss as a group, and people can kind of learn from their own peers. And so that part can't really be planned for, but the formal structure is in my mind, in my head, and that varies depending on the resort and depending on the times of the boats, etc.
But NAD Lembeh is a very good place to do this because you have a lot of time between dives because all the dive sites are so close together. I do try. My tips for advertise is for kind of experienced or medium to higher level, I would suggest. But we do occasionally have people who are at a lower level than others. But because of the nature of the workshop as being uncompetitive and supportive, the people who are at a high level are happy to share their information with the others. But also, if I notice someone's having issues or they come up from a dive and they're not happy, then I can take them aside and discuss and do individual tutorial sessions with them. Or if someone's really unhappy, then I'll go down underwater with them for the first part of the dive, and then he or she will take some photos of a subject, and I'll look at the images and then take the camera, and then I make some changes to the strokes of things or whatever, and take another shot and show them what I got and look at what they got, and basically give them some individual attention. Really, so a lot of it's about confidence, and once people actually see their images, they find out often that they are at a similar level as their peers anyway. Once they get through that confidence barrier, so a large part of the workshops is building people's confidence.
So for us, obviously at the time of booking things, we start planning the year ahead, and then as it gets closer to the workshop, we make sure that the dive guides are well rested and ready to go. We have quite a large dive team. We have 15 permanent guides, which is one of the biggest ones in the area, and they're all photographically trained. And we need so many because we have a dive guide ratio of every 2 guests gets their own dive guide. Over the years, the dive guides have been learning photographic technique, and we have 6 or so cameras for them to use. So when we're in the quiet period, like we're coming up to now, sort of January through April, if they've not got guests, then they'll be having the camera practicing techniques, learning things off Facebook and off us, and then go around testing new toys and things like that, so that when the guests come, they're familiar with how to use the different housings. So we always have one Canon camera, one Nikon camera, mirrorless, and then compact cameras as well. And then they rotate through those. Obviously they have their favourites, but they try each of them so that when their guest has a similar camera, then they know sort of what buttons to press and things if people need help. I think what's changed, I mean, Alex has to change as the equipment changes. So you have now new gadgets. If I can just move out of camera. So this year we've been doing a lot of practice with these little snoot lights and things like that. This sort of equipment didn't exist 3 or 4 years ago. So the boys have obviously got used to using this kind of stuff, and Alex has also been developing his presentations to compensate for that. Also as well, I think people are becoming more creative with lighting. So Alex has done a lot more presentations on more the lighting aspect and technical aspect. But also it depends what participants are within the workshop. If you have all new photographers, then you can't obviously go as hardcore on technical settings, but usually the group's fairly well split. This week was more towards the higher end, so it was pushing people a bit harder on using, say, lower f-stops, inward lighting, side lighting, really trying to develop the lighting technique, because that's where you get the biggest gains. So we've got a whole set of spare parts here. We've got different screws to attach all the different ball mounts and things to your housing if you happen to forget them or lose them or whatever. We've got a big supply of that. We've got a lot of batteries. I have a full complement of video gear here, so I've got 6 Kelvin lights. Sometimes I do use them all in one dive when I'm on the rebreather, but usually they're available if somebody's lights flood. We've got a whole complement of strobes. I think we've got 8 Inon strobes, 6 NC strobes, obviously lots of batteries as well, different arms, different float arms. This is a red. We've got 2 different reds that we use in-house. And then we have a Phantom as well for super high speed footage, which is really good for TV stuff that we do with mantis shrimps and other fast striking animals. Then as I work over here, we've got my wife has shooting a D500, our manager is shooting a GH4. I've got a D850. I use this mostly for blackwater night diving, so I just came back late last night from shooting with that. And then we have the selection of rental stuff that our dive guides have left in fantastic condition over here. We have a TG4 in a housing. We have a 1DX, which is our guide's favorite camera. We have a little Olympus housing for a TG4 as well. Some people prefer that. And then we have a Panasonic GH4 as well as a rental, and also, again, the dive guides love to take that one out. And now, thanks to Alex Tattersall, we have a whole bunch of these little snoot lights as well. So these will be available for rental and for the guides to use to practice.
So that's it really, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Feel free to give it a thumbs up, give it a share. If you like this video and you'd like to see more from us, then please do click on that subscribe button down below. It'd be great to have you along for future videos. We've got a whole host of review videos coming up, underwater video and stuff with the drone, so do keep your eyes peeled for that. But until the next time, I will speak to you all later. Goodbye.